The big solo debuts, new 2D groups, and even the most exciting 2D music projects to join the industry this year are already covered. Now it's time to relax a bit and talk a bit about the live tours held in the middle of the pandemic, unexpected comebacks, important albums released this year, and more. Let's kick off this episode of Seiyu Lounge. Welcome to Seiyu Lounge. I am your host Vanessa, and today's topic is 2021 in review. Tours in the middle of a pandemic, unexpected comebacks, the biggest albums, and everything in between. Time to have a slightly more laid-back talk about some of the important happenings when it comes to male Seiyu artists and 2D groups. These are the key storylines in 2021. The big comebacks. 2021 was a good year for fans of male Seiyu artists. There were plenty of full-length albums released, not only from the usual suspects but also from voices that we all hadn't heard for a long time. It had been 3 years since Ken had last released a CD as a solo artist when the news broke. Ken is back with a new single titled Love Story. Although it arrived a bit late, after all, this is a single to thank his fans and celebrate his 39th birthday, that was in March 2021, everyone was more than delighted to finally listen to him as a solo artist, with pure, raw emotions in his performances. Another Seiyu that had been away from the music industry in recent years is Kenichi Suzumura. The veteran Seiyu and singer-songwriter had last released a digital single in 2020, and his last album dated back to 2014. It's safe to say that his fans were ecstatic about this return to the music industry with none other than the full-length album Bright. Cue another beloved Seiyu solo artist that made a surprise announcement before the end of 2021. Toshiyuki Toyonaga announced the release of his third full-length album, Dot Link, and brought in guest lyricists in Subaru Kimura and Kana Hanazawa, as well as composers to help shape up the world and soundscapes he had in mind. Although promotions were kept to a bare minimum, excitement for Toyonaga's music was there, with his fans pretty eager to listen to the latest creations by the vocal chameleon and genius composer. And as always, Toyonaga crafted a unique auditory experience that impressed. The big album releases. Contrary to 2020, that was practically packed to the very top with big releases and more specifically, big albums, 2021 was much quieter, and I dare say the quality, although there, was not even close to that of the music released last year. Still, there were 4 big album releases, 2 of these comebacks after a long period of inactivity for the artists in question. Toshiki Masuda's Origin. Almost 2 years since Masuda had released music, he made a big comeback with his second full-length album, Origin. The talented voice actor and solo artist decided to reset his solo career sound-wise and fully embrace the sound he loves. Rock, especially fast-paced guitar rock with hints of punk, had a big presence in Origin. The album, with Masuda's rock origins at center stage, showcased an artist comfortable in his own skin, sound and concept, and as a result the sound was more consistent and of a higher quality in comparison to his first full-length album, Diver. There are themes of youth, ambition, dreams, fantasies, defeat and hope going on throughout this album. Those are explored through a consistent rock sound that is rich, powerful, and entertaining at all times. And Masuda made sure to showcase more of his range with this album, not only by tapping a bit further into his high range, delivering crystal clear head voice notes, but he also embraced his mid-range and went for a collection of warm and fun performances that suit his image as a solo artist. If you happen to not know about this album, I thoroughly welcome you to check it out. At the time of recording this episode, the album was not available on streaming platforms, which is a pity in terms of visibility because this album surely is one of the top 5 best albums of 2021. Yumo Uchida with Equal. Yumo Uchida didn't spare anyone with this sophomore album. Equal built upon the solid foundations of Horizon, first full-length album released in 2019, and cranked up the quality to a level that will mesmerize you. Under the theme of two halves of the same artist, Equal is an album that showcases Uchida's versatility as a singer, tackling bubbly pop tunes, a cappella music, technical R&B songs, ballads, rock tunes and hyped-up EDM music. In each of these outings, Uchida managed to be charismatic and showcase how comfortable he is as an artist. If there is one thing you can really tell from his performances in this album, is that he was having fun performing the songs. The emotion in his voice, the energy brought to each song, the ease in which his songs put a smile on your face, all show how much he was vibing to those songs and enjoying himself while recording those. I am an absolute sucker for Yumo Uchida's unique brand of R&B pop. Although you may not notice it when he releases a single, when it's time for an album, R&B really takes over, with Uchida showing his singing skills and plenty of smooth mid-tones, fancy R&B riffing, technical high notes and a cappella. His voice tone more than fits R&B music, as he always sounds effortlessly melodic. It's like his voice is honeyed, smoothly gliding through the lyrics and the parts you'd usually deem complex to pull off as a singer. That is something I absolutely love about Yumo Uchida, the solo artist. And Equal more than capitalized on that. This is an album in which R&B is abundant, the quality in the music is top tier, the mastering made the songs flow seamlessly, even between songs of polarizing music genres, and when things get quiet like in I'm Not Complete, you can safely say that Yumo Uchida is easily a top 5 best singer among male seiyuu. Makoto Furukawa with Room of No Name. If there is an artist that always makes me excited for any music release he makes, is Makoto Furukawa. As a big fan of jazz music, Furukawa's music always feels a need that other male seiyuu never managed to fill. And this time around it was no different. Room of No Name is a change in tone for Makoto Furukawa as a solo artist. This time around without Satoru Kuwabara, that composed from Fairy Tail, and simultaneously without any songs in this mini-album featured in anime series, Furukawa was unshackled, ready to do something refreshing yet still in the same tone and with the same elegance of all the music you can find in his first full-length album, From Fairy Tail. The result is one of the most complex and interesting albums released in 2021, and yet another set of performances that highlight Makoto Furukawa's skills as a gifted singer and stellar lyricist. Toshiyuki Toyonaga with Dot Link. Another seiyuu artist that is a treat to listen to and always makes me excited for any music he releases is Toshiyuki Toyonaga. The multi-talented seiyuu, singer-songwriter and music producer announced the release of Dot Link in October, and fans went crazy with the news. I know for sure I was excited because Toyonaga is a genius singer-songwriter. This time around, Toyonaga mixed things up a little bit, not being in charge of composing all music nor of writing all lyrics. Dot Link is a collaborative piece of art that brought experienced composers, producers, talented lyricists, and even fellow seiyuu with awesome lyricist skills, Subaru Kimura and Kana Hanazawa, together with Toshiyuki Toyonaga's music sense and outstanding singing and composition skills. The result is one of Toyonaga's most impressive CDs in his repertoire. It's still not up there with Music of the Entertainment, but hell if Dot Link isn't an impressive album. Big changes in the music industry for seiyuu artists. If you remember well, Argonavis from Bang Dream franchise started the sound-only live shows trend last year. Mamoru Miyano held a worldwide live stream and Toshiyuki Toyonaga held an acoustic live via streaming. Those were the first steps that signaled that something was slowly changing in the music industry in Japan. The question was there: how to reach our fans if we can't meet them face to face? Streaming appeared as a perfect option that, at that time, ended up opening the doors to international fans. Of course, not all Seiyu artists have welcomed everyone like Mamoru Miyano and King Records have managed to. But once again, Miyano and King Records have a strong marketing strategy that includes international fans, contrary to all other Seiyu artists. Still, it was interesting to find Seiyu artists and their music labels putting an effort in making their music, their performances and events available to many of their fans, all in Japan and some internationally depending on the streaming restrictions set for each country or region. And with these, there were 3 solo artists that held exclusively online shows in 2021: Makoto Furukawa, Myu Irino, and Shota Aoi. In March 2021, Shota Aoi held an exclusively online show titled Utaibito. This was the first time Aoi held such a show, and although this live show had a live stream available for international fans, it was the type region locked to a lot of places, more than the ones available to watch it. Still, there was an effort to include international fans, and they responded warmly to Aoi welcoming them. Almost in a poetic way, Utaibito was a live show that was physically empty, as the venue couldn't have anyone there, and as such the songs were all rearranged in a stripped-down fashion to match that sense of emptiness. As a result, fans got to listen to acoustic versions, most accompanied by a piano, of Aoi's hits. In April, Makoto Furukawa held his first live show, which was simultaneously his first online live show, streaming Kinema from Fairy Tail. This live show came as a surprise, as Furukawa didn't have at that time enough music to hold a full live show. Still, with a couple of songs, he still managed to give an awesome show to his fans. I'll talk more about this live show in a couple of minutes in a different part of this episode. Also in the same month, Myu Irino held an online live show that we will never get to watch ever again, and that's because it was a one-off live show with no intentions to be recorded and later released on DVD or Blu-ray. Irino Myu Online Live 2021 was a special online live show due to exactly that. It was Irino's answer to the cancelled live tour in 2020 and also a gift to his fans after such an odd year. To top it all off, although not open worldwide, the livestream was available to at least 20 countries besides Japan, welcoming plenty of his fans. Music available on streaming platforms. This has been a slow process for the Seiyu industry. Since 2020, and mainly due to the COVID-19 pandemic, music labels, their Seiyu artists and 2D music projects started to make their music widely available internationally. However, the biggest surprises came from 2 music labels that, up until now, weren't that welcoming of international fans. Contrary to its sister label Atlantis, Kiramune has been slow in the uptake, only making the music from its artists available on streaming platforms worldwide in 2021. Their show of good faith, or should I say, acknowledgement that there is an international fan base for their artists, brought to streaming platforms worldwide the entire catalogs by all Seiyu artists and Seiyu units signed to Kiramune. That's Myu Irino, Hiroshi Kamiya, Kamyu, Connect, Tetsuya Kakihara, Nobuhiko Okamoto, Trignal, Takuya Guchi, Sparklu, Daisuke Namikawa, Hiroyuki Yoshino, and Uncle Bomb. Over 300 songs are now within reach for international fans that now can fully support their favorite artists legally. This is an awesome move by Kiramune, although a really late one, as other music labels jumped into the trend years earlier. Another music label that has a complicated relationship with international fans is Reject. The label, best known for housing Dear vocalist, Pythagoras Production and Cornelian Blood's music franchises, has been making an effort to make the music of their projects available to a wider audience. And after Erosion's repertoire, minus their first full-length album, was made available simultaneously with the physical releases, it was time for parts of 2 other projects, the most popular at Reject, to make their music available. I mentioned parts of because Reject has been making a gradual transition to streaming. With that being said, you can only find some CDs within both franchises available for streaming worldwide. Fans of Dear Vocalists, the popular 2D rock and drama franchise that counts with a star-studded cast, will find the first full-length albums by Ryodo, voiced by Toshiki Masuda, Joshua, voiced by Nobunaga Shimazaki, Judah, voiced by Soma Saito, Tsuyu, voiced by Natsuki Hanae, Momochi, voiced by Toshiyuki Toyonaga, and A-, voiced by Ryohei Kimura, available for streaming. This is a special moment for the franchise as it has celebrated its 6th anniversary this year and was greenlit for its 7th season of Music Plus Drama CDs. Also within Reject arrived the news that Pythagoras Production franchise launched in 2013 and currently one of the longest-running 2D music franchises has part of its music available for streaming worldwide. There are some group singles by Marginal Number 4, Lagrange Point, Unicorn Jr. and the newly debuted Golden Record available. Solo tracks also have a place in their repertoire made available to international fans. When push comes to shove, the franchise, and thus Reject, is making an effort at attracting more people to this project that has been experiencing wavering in their popularity in the last couple of years. It is a clumsy effort, especially by not making the entire catalogs available right off the bat, but it is still an effort worth commending. I hope this effort by Reject ends up leading to more international fans of 2D music to find, fall in love with, or rediscover both Pythagoras Production and Dear Vocalists' music. These are franchises with plenty of quality music, Pythagoras Production being one of the very first popular 2D music projects behind Utapri, and Dear Vocalist being the longest running and best 2D rock music project. When 2021 wraps up, Kiramune and Reject really stand out positively for making an effort to put the spotlight on their artists, making their music available for streaming worldwide, even if with some catalog restrictions by Reject. The big tours and live shows. Although still in the middle of managing a worldwide pandemic, there were big live tours and live shows taking place in Japan. And there were several high-profile seiyuu helming those big live shows, some managing to pull off crazy tours when everything was being cancelled around the same time their live shows were being held. There were 2D groups also holding impressive live shows that welcomed thousands of people in the audience. Let's talk a bit about those. Gakto Kajiwara's first live show and worldwide live stream, Koko ni Iru Kimi ni. Popular seiyuu and solo artist Gakto Kajiwara announced his first live show being held in November 2021. Koko ni Iru Kimi ni was initially announced as an on-location live show, however Kajiwara and his music label, Avex Pictures, surprised everyone by announcing a worldwide live stream, opening arms to the thousands of international fans of Kajiwara's music. This was an awesome step by Kajiwara, further opening his solo career to international fans, yet an odd announcement when you remind yourself that Avex Pictures is the same music label that forbids the sales of their artists' music to overseas fans. They have a weird embargo going on, blocking international fans from purchasing Kajiwara's physical CDs legally. If you are actually purchasing the physical CDs and live outside of Japan, do know that, according to Avex Pictures, what you're doing is as illegal as making an illegal download. Seriously, this is crazy and doesn't make any sense. Yet they were open to international fans. That's contradictory, but for Kajiwara's fans, I believe that matters little as long as they got to watch the live stream. I understand you. Still, you can't help but to notice how contradictory is Avex Pictures in their interaction with international fans. But that is a different talk. As a solo artist with only 1 year in the music industry, Kajiwara challenged himself to release a mini album, hold a live show, and make that live show available worldwide via streaming. You got to admire the focus on being closer to his fans. Even goes as far as releasing announcement videos in English for his fans. Impressive feat by Gakto Kajiwara. Makoto Furukawa with Streaming Kinema from Fairy Tail. Although with very few songs to his name to justify having a full live show, Makoto Furukawa held his first online live show, actually his first ever one-man live show, in April 2021. Streaming Kinema from Fairy Tail was a high-quality production with a focus on making the viewer feel like they were watching the live show from the best seats in the house. For that to be gripping, the live show features an intro recorded using a Steadicam, with Makoto Furukawa taking the viewer one-on-one to their seat at the show, which was not only a unique detail, but also completely unexpected. Furukawa went through almost all his entire repertoire up until then, focusing more on the songs included in his first full-length album, From Fairy Tail. As a result, those who got to watch the live stream that wasn't available in many countries internationally experienced a one-in-a-lifetime live show filled with the elegance of jazz, Furukawa's charisma, and the pure power and addictive sound from his live band. In November, the live streaming show was included in the limited editions of his first mini-album, Room of No Name. Shugo Nakamura First Live Tour. There's no denying it, Shugo Nakamura had a fantastic year. He released his fourth single, Kwareta Sekai no Byoshinwa, and his first full-length album, Natural, both on the same day. Plus announced his first ever one-man live tour, Shugo Nakamura First Live Tour, Natural. Nakamura managed to successfully pull off the live tour, visiting live houses across Japan, with fans finally being able to watch him perform his warm brand of acoustic rock with jazz and pop sprinkles on top. Yumo Uchida == live show. Yumo Uchida held his biggest live show to date with the == live show held in October 2021. He filled Makuhari Messe, not its full but half capacity due to COVID-19 restrictions, and delivered a tantalizing live show that welcomed not only a breakdance team on stage, but also showed Uchida playing guitar live for the very first time. The live show was filled with twists and turns, covering his solo career up until now, however with a particular focus in his most recent work, the second full-length album, Equal. In a way, the album's concept was befitting of Uchida as an exciting and versatile solo artist, something that, on a live setting, translated into a set of mesmerizing performances across a wide variety of music genres, with different moods and requiring completely different performances on the vocal side. Yumo Uchida's == live show is quite easily one of the best live shows held by male seiyuu in 2021. Soma Saito's first live tour, We Are in Bloom. If you're talking about crazy live tours in the middle of even crazier times, then Soma Saito's first live tour, We Are in Bloom, must be mentioned. Popular voice actor and singer-songwriter Soma Saito managed to somehow, and with a lot of luck, pull off an in-person live tour in the middle of the pandemic, with only one stop of the tour having to be dropped. If you take a closer look at the cancellations and delays of live shows and tours between April and May 2021, you'll really understand just how lucky was Saito to only have one date of the tour being cancelled. The live tour wrapped up with 2 back-to-back shows at Tokyo Garden Theatre, gathering 8,000 people in those 2 days alone. On top of the 8,000 people joining Saito in an emotional journey towards blooming, were international fans, as Sakura Music opened the doors to the last day of the tour to some overseas fans. That arrived as unexpected. Still, the fact that only a handful of countries could watch the live stream ended up being frustrating, as by now artists like Mamoru Miyano and Gakto Kajiwara have already proven that it is possible to hold a worldwide live stream with barely any country restrictions. Still, that's a positive point to see Sakura Music label that claims to be open to putting an international focus on their artists, finally doing something that actually is welcoming of international fans and that actually puts their artists on an international stage. Soma Saito's first live tour, We Are in Bloom, was a massive achievement not only for himself as a solo artist, showcasing the artistry of his second full-length album In Bloom for the very first time on a live setting, but also for how crazy it was to pull off a long tour in the middle of a pandemic and avoid it being cancelled altogether. As far as live tours by male seiyuu go, Soma Saito's We Are in Bloom is the craziest, and in 2021, the most buzzworthy live tour. Mamoru Miyano reliving. Almost 2 years without meeting his fans, Mamoru Miyano was itching to hop on stage, welcome and share good vibes with everyone. In October 2021, Mamoru Miyano finally got to make that wish come true with his live shows Reliving. Miyano finally got to meet his fans face to face and feed off of their energy in an electrifying and emotional live show that marks the resume of Miyano's live activities as a solo artist. As it has been a trend up until now, Miyano keeps setting the trends for seiyuu artists by announcing the first worldwide live stream of all performances in that live show. These were back-to-back shows that were simultaneously held in person and live-streamed worldwide with barely any country restrictions. The fact that fans didn't need a VPN to access the live stream, and Miyano and King Records deliberately made the live show available to a big chunk of the countries in the world, show a lot of care for all fans of Miyano, making no distinctions between domestic and international ones. This is something that still hasn't spread to other music labels and seiyuu artists that still region lock their live streams to Japan only, or when making those available to international fans, they only remember that there are some countries in Central Europe, the US, Brazil, and not much else, leaving a lot of fans to either resorting to VPNs or completely miss out on the shows. The Reliving shows were cathartic for everyone. Miyano got to see his fans and spread his charms and good vibes once again, and the fans could finally see the massive grin on Miyano's face as he met them after such a long time. As far as performances go, Miyano made sure to revisit classics, bring in a couple of acoustic tunes, as well as perform for the very first time some of the most recently released songs. Massive accomplishment by Miyano that I really hope ends up influencing other seiyuu artists from now on. Trigger Live Cross Valiant. The first 2D group to hold an exclusively online live show, well, back-to-back shows, was the popular trio from the Idolish 7 franchise, Trigger. The group surprised everyone by announcing not only their first one-man live show, they are the second 2D group to do so, the first one was Quartet Night, but also their first online live show. For 2 days in July 2021, Trigger's Soma Saito, Wataru Hatano and Takuya Sato showcased their charms and charisma as a refreshed group presenting the concept album Variant. Not only was the album a massive success on Oricon's charts, but the 2 days of Trigger Live Cross Valiant were extremely well received, with thousands of fans from Japan and internationally joining in the mesmerizing and imposing performances of what is currently one of the most popular 2D and 3D groups active in the music industry. The live show had a high-quality production, not sparing the budget to impress their fans. For this online live show to leave a mark in its viewers, it has parts recorded with a Steadicam. This is a famous one-take camera that adds you, the viewer, to the action in first person and requires the artists to have everything sharply choreographed to not mess up the take itself. Then there was augmented reality used on stage. This is quite possibly the most impressive showcase of technological advancements within 2D music. Augmented reality helped create the worlds fans experienced on stage. It was an important part of the storytelling for the live show that followed almost completely the songs in the concept album Variant. Then you have the choreography, the wardrobe, and the live performances. Trigger's members were looking sharp, channeling strong regal vibes from the start of the show, but with some wardrobe changes midway through to completely embrace the tones and vibes of the songs they were performing. And on the other side of the camera were you and thousands of other fans worldwide as Trigger's live cross Valiant was made available in over 25 countries around the world, bringing in a big chunk of their fanbase to this impressive live show and accomplishment within both the Idolish 7 franchise and among 2D music projects. If there is something that 2020 has taught everyone working in the music industry in Japan, is that there are international fans out there. Fans eager to support their favorites legally, to attend their live shows, to be excited alongside domestic fans. And that passes of course for making live shows available through worldwide live streams. Mamoru Miyano has been in the forefront when it comes to including international fans. Shota Aoi, Miyuirino, Makoto Furukawa, Soma Saito, Yu Mochida and Gakuto Kajiwara follow these footsteps, some more inclusive of international fans than others, but all are making an effort in testing the waters, checking if they have enough international fans to warrant making upcoming live tours or live shows available to international fans through live streams. So Miyano opened the door, and now each seiyuu artist is left to their devices to assess if they have international fans willing to pay to watch their live streams. As someone living in Portugal, I can only say that to me, only Mamoru Miyano, Miyuirino and Gakuto Kajiwara's live streams were available. These were the only seiyuu artists that decided to include Western countries in Europe in their live streaming availability. Still, the effort was there, and I really hope that we can have more of these worldwide live streams in the future. If King Records and Avex have taken notice that there are international fans like you and I really eager to watch our favorite artists, I believe 2022 is going to be a year in which that will be normalized for seiyuu artists and 2D groups. Fingers crossed that it happens, because that will be amazing for all of us that can't travel to Japan or do not have money to travel and purchase a ticket for the events. Twenty 2021 was a crazy year filled with innovation by seiyuu artists, 2D music projects and their music labels. It was a year in which music labels opened to international fans. It was a year in which solo artists turned to their international fans and spread their arms wide, welcoming us along. It was a year of experimentalism with live shows with a higher production, some fully online, welcoming more fans into those experiences that, for various reasons, couldn't usually be available for some people. It was a year of great albums, of surprising comebacks, of equally surprising no-shows by some of the most buzzworthy seiyuu artists that decided to skip a year and not releasing anything in 2021. 2021 was a rock-solid year for fans of male seiyuu and 2D music. I hope you do feel the same thing as we get closer to the end. Now tell me, which was the biggest happening for you in 2021? What was the news that really made you incredibly excited? Let me know in the comments, and remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of Seiyuu Lounge. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the Hand That Feeds HQ's weekly male seiyuu and music-related content, hit the subscribe button. I'll return next week with another episode of Seiyuu Lounge. Thank you for listening, and see you guys around.